now. And here we go. So let's first start off for our viewers that will be watching this video once it's fully produced. Please introduce yourself.
Sure, 1 second. Oh, just change my background. All right. Hi, my name is Sean Bacon. I'm an investment analyst over at Abbott Capital Management, and I was a graduate from the Question School of Business in 2019.
Awesome. So what does a typical day look like in your position where you're working now?
Yeah, so I know it's kind of a cliche saying, but I mean, no real day is really the same. I mean, for me, it honestly depends on where we're at in the deal process. I mean, it could be super busy one day working on an Excel model, and the next day I could just be doing some research on a database, just trying to find like a term sheet or something on the fund that we're looking at. So there really isn't any ordinary day today, I would say. But I guess some common themes would just be, in the morning, kind of checking my emails and kind of looking at whatever came in late from the night before, looking at anything that I might have missed or, forgot to do from the day before, kind of just playing some catch-up work. We have a London office team, so generally in the mornings I communicate with them because I tend to work on some deals with them. And then in the afternoon is kind of just more my time. So it's kind of just, what do I want to work on? And it really depends on where we're at in the deal timeline. So in the beginning, a lot of it's quantitative work. I'm setting up the models, working on some analysis. As we get later on in the process, I'm doing stuff like creating a reference list, looking at people that we could call to kind of reference a company or the fund that we're looking at. So that's kind of more the general topics that I would cover on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. Sounds like a very dynamic field. So,
Yeah.
So what's an entry position that could be obtained within your field?
So this would be this position, actually. So the investment analyst, so the program that I'm in is a 2-year program. And essentially what it is it's the analyst training program. You start out, I'm on the investment team, but there are other analysts within my firm. We have a couple analysts on the operations team, and what they focus on is more fund accounting, both for the funds that we invest with and our own funds that we raise. They kind of handle both of those. And then more towards my end in the investment side, we have the investment analyst. So those are kind of like the two main things that you could have in my field.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So do you think the major you pursued in undergrad ended up having like a lot of relevance in your position today? And was it always your intention to have the job that you're working now?
Yeah, so I guess I'll take that in 2 parts. So the first part is yes, definitely. I think my major definitely did prepare me for my job that I have now. And it's really important to note that my major in school is a great building point. It's a great starting point to kind of enter the industry and kind of just have the basic understanding of how things work. A lot of the learning that you're going to have is going to be done, the first year or 2 on the job. So I think it definitely prepares you for being able to take in the massive amount of information that you're going to get on the first couple of months on the job. Yeah.
And since, COVID has impacted the world all over, how do you think COVID has impacted like your ability to work and workflow and anything associated with your job?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, COVID was pretty crazy at the start. I think on March 13th, we just decided to send everyone home. And for like the first month or so, it was a little bit tough because we kind of had some older remote connect programs and stuff that were a little bit slower and a little bit clunkier, not really built for the entire company to work on at the same time. But we quickly upgraded our systems and everything like that. And I was provided with a laptop. So now it's pretty much like I'm at the office. There's like there's no loss in productivity or anything. If anything, I feel like I'm busier. The last year has been insane. So I'm just glad that, on the tech side, I haven't had any problems with that. So yeah.
Yeah, COVID, a lot of people have been saying from interviews and like our students at BU nowadays are like, yeah, it feels like we're doing so much work. We've been busier ever since
Yeah,
we've been moved on to like remote systems.
yeah.
Um, so while you were at BU, were there like any resources or internships that you participated in that you believe really bettered your experience or had an impact on like the career you're pursuing right now?
Sure. Yeah. So I didn't really do any internships through BU, but I did do internships during my time at BU. I actually started my sophomore spring, where I took on a unpaid internship for a small private equity firm in Boston, kind of doing what I'm doing now, but on a much higher level. So a lot more basic stuff. So I think definitely the thing would be to start early for like your internship search. And then as far as resources and stuff within BU, I didn't actually use the ERC or the CCD all too much, but I did use my actual professors that I took for my major focus classes, because those guys have been some of the biggest help. I still talk to a few of them on a somewhat regular basis. So hopefully once COVID is over, I can come back up and visit and say hi to some of my old professors. But I think they're definitely one of the biggest helps because, a lot of them had careers earlier in their life in the field that you're hoping to go into. So they have some really great insight, really great connections. And I actually used one of them for a reference. So it's always great to keep your professors around.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, professors are like a great help for, all of our or a good portion of our students. Even at the CCD, we're telling students, hey, although we might not be the experts, go to the experts. Your professors know they've worked in your industries before.
Right.
So, if you could talk to a student right now who's aspiring to be in business and might want to go into an analyst position like you, what advice or tips would you give them?
Sure. And I hate to sound cliche again, but it definitely is networking. A lot of it is really kind of putting yourself out there and trying to meet as many people in the industry in the field that you want to go into as possible. Um, so I mean, LinkedIn is a huge resource there, and I've actually had a lot of feedback, or I've received a lot of messages from current BU students using the what's the portal, the alumni portal, or where you could look up kind of
BU
all the alumni.
Connects?
The alumni database. That yeah. Um, so I received a lot of messages from that. So definitely stick to that, um, and just try to leverage a network. I mean, find people in the industry that are kind of newer to the job as well, because they'll have the best experience or at least best advice for what you're currently trying to do because they just did the same exact thing. Um, and just keep talking. A lot of it's the numbers game. I mean, you might not get a response from every single person you speak to, but you might get like 2 or 3 out of 10. So as long as you just keep messaging people, you're going to get a response eventually, and one of those responses could turn out.
Awesome. So yeah, that was basically the bulk of the interview. It's meant to be like really short and sweet, a cute, easy to consume like resource for students who might be in a similar major or might be considering switching their career trajectory and such. But yeah, if you have like any other pieces of advice or any other words about like your BU experience, you have the space here to bring it up. If not, the interview is concluded. But I'll give you the
Sure.
floor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess I would just reiterate is a lot of the a lot of what's important in my industry, especially as you get later on in the career, is the relationships that you make. So I think definitely some of the biggest things you should focus on as you kind of start your career or look to start your career is definitely focus on building and strengthening those relationships that you either have or you want to build, because that's pretty much one of the key things to getting right where you want to be. I mean, like most of the stuff that you're going to learn on the job as you progress throughout your career. So like hard skills you can learn, soft skills you can't really as much. So definitely just put yourself out there as much as possible.
All right. Thank you for those lovely pieces of advice. Yeah, and I appreciate your time coming out and helping us with this blog series that we're developing currently.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Lucia, for reaching out. This was a fun little exercise. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean.
All right.
Take care. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye bye.
All right, bye.